Hello, love. Welcome to this transmission message of New Earth Paradigm codes, channeled messages, codes, and frequencies on behalf of Momma Gaia, Mother Earth herself, as a sentient being and a galactic being with a memory, is what she's saying specifically to me. These messages are intended to be transmissional codes in nature and especially aligned to the highest and greatest good and evolution of humanity. Some would refer to that as the ascension process. I like to think of it as the expansiousness, the expansion, okay? The expansion of consciousness, of frequency and vibration here on Earth, on Mother Earth. If this message is finding you or you are finding it for the first time, know that there is purpose in that. Please join the family. Subscribe to this channel moving forward. This is going to be a series. Every Monday, I will be posting Momma Gaia codes, and every Thursday, I will be posting more galactic or cosmic codes as well. So these energies are aligning respectively to Mother Earth and to galactic energy, all in alignment with unity consciousness, because at the end of the day, we are all connected to this galaxy and the universe at large, okay? So all she gave me at the beginning of this message, and she wants me to get straight into just the channeling of it, all I have in my notes are the gold, frankincense, and myrrh codes, Christ consciousness, and the heart of Christ. So she wants to speak here to the energy of alchemy, an alchemizing frequency, energy, and vibration. And she is giving me the energy of Jesus Christ, of Christ consciousness, as the energy of ultimate alchemy and empath alchemy. And actually, I want to make a note of that because that's the first time I'm hearing it. Empath alchemy. I am working with the crystal energy of malachite for this particular reading. I want to bring that frequency through. This is a raw piece of malachite. It's giving me, interestingly enough, for the first time, I've had this piece for a while now, it's giving me like dinosaur energy. I'm getting an energy here of something very prehistoric. I'm also getting an energy here of bones, like the bones in the earth, fossils. These frequencies that she is speaking to are in her bones and in the earth. So the frequencies of these codes, the gold, frankincense, and myrrh codes, interestingly enough, when you think of gold, when you think of frankincense, when you think of myrrh, they all come from her, right? They all come from the earth. So she's talking about that as being in her bones, because I'm also getting a lot of coral energy as well coming through here. Like it's looking to me like pieces of coral in the sea. Understanding that she's reminding us here that these are all consciousness codes, the consciousness of water. I'm feeling called here to share the work of Vita Austin, and also I can't remember his name, the Japanese scientist as well. It starts with an M, doesn't it? Speaking about the energy of water and the energy of earth and how both earth and water hold consciousness. She's speaking to memory and consciousness, and how in the earth, when we connect to the earth energetically, we can connect to her memory energetically. And remember that also water being synonymous with consciousness. And also she's giving me the energy of our DNA here, water and DNA. and the waters of our bodies, right? And the energies that we are absorbing through our bodies, remembering that we are, give or take, around 75% water, just like she is. The majority of the earth is covered in water, and there are depths within the oceans and the seas that have that and still remain unexplored, very much like inner earth. Okay, so there are realms within the earth and realms within the water that hold these codes and these memories. You can connect with these energies when opening up sacred space. I'm hearing her say with a pure heart to connect with these frequencies and connect with these codes. Okay, so she wants to speak here to alchemy, the alchemy of the earth and the alchemy of water, and how we are able to shift energy through our interaction with the element of earth and the element of water. Alchemy of the elements is what she's saying to me in that. And she wants to also bring in the energy of Christ as the ultimate alchemist of emotional energy. I have always referred to, I've always felt, really, it's not just me referring to, okay? I've always felt that Christ and the energy of Christ and Jesus, and when we look at what we have inherited is the word that's coming through here around the energy and the frequency of Christ as children of the earth and of God, of Source. He is the ultimate example of being a sort of master empath, okay? And part of his consciousness and Christ consciousness is very closely connected to the evolution of empath consciousness here on Earth. There is a lot of convoluted energy when it comes to religious programming around what it means to be a good person and what it means to be self-sacrificing, and a lot of convoluted energy and various interpretations around Christ and his quote-unquote sacrifice, okay? Christ's story is very much a story of truth and of ascension and of the expansion of consciousness here on Earth. And this is a much, much bigger message that we are not going to cover in this particular video, but feel into the energy of why, for example, when we speak of time here on Earth, we always refer to before Christ and after Christ, and how not that long ago, really, in Earth time and the spectrum of things, that turned into before the Common Era and after the Common Era. What does that even mean? Because the energy of Christ was a massive tipping point in terms of the timeline here on Earth. And there's a good reason why we would refer to it as before Christ and after Christ. There was a shift in frequency that he was, in a sense, a messenger of. And what is coming through with that is his energy in teachings around the occulted Christ, okay? And when I say that, I very specifically mean occulted as in hidden, or let's just say between the lines, the energy that is between the lines, the energy that necessarily for reasons around religious programming and indoctrination wants to be hidden, okay? When you read between the lines, and when you look at some of the teachings around the occulted Christ, Christ is essentially the solar archangel. He is a messenger, and was, if we're looking at it from the timeline here on Earth, in terms of linear time. His energy then in linear time was taken and interpreted in various ways by humans, by souls having a human experience here on Earth. And there was also, let's just put it this way, an agenda to bring, I'm hearing the word usurp his energy. Okay? Usurp his energy to gatekeep connection to God, connection to the source that lives within each and every one of us. And on that note, I'm going to get into the cards. So if I'm being also called to say here that if this concept, this frequency, essentially, of seeing Christ as the solar archangel, in some teachings, Jesus and the energy of Christ is actually synonymous with Archangel Metatron. Some people have even said that. If this is pinging for you in some way, and how the stories might overlap, essentially, look into the occult Christ, the occulted Christ, the teachings of Christ. I'm also getting theosophy here. There could be something in that might be resonating for you. Well, it will activate and unlock certain codes in you. If this is really pinging for you in the purity of your heart, is what Momma Gaia is saying, okay? Looking into also how there is how Christ energy, and this is interestingly enough something that Ted Andrews speaks about in the book, The Occult Christ, and I can leave that in the description box below as well, if that's something that's interesting you and pinging for you. He speaks very specifically about redressing the balance of the divine feminine, and that Christ incarnated here on earth during the time as we understand it linearly here on earth on Momma Gaia. His purpose was to bring back a balance of divine femininity onto Momma Gaia. Okay? It's about redressing that balance. And on that note, I'm going to get into the cards. I am 1212 on the counter as I say that, and I'm hearing the 12 apostles, but with Christ that's 13, and that's the energy of the divine feminine. So that might be another specifically synchronicity that she's bringing through here. And I'm also getting the lunar energy, or like the 13 lunar months that we refer to, this redressing of a balance. Okay, and this is going to be something else that we might touch upon, maybe moving towards the more galactic codes here, but Momma Gaia might want to bring this through as well. There is a kind of interesting theory, concept getting thrown around within certain pockets of the spiritual community that are referring to the moon as being something created, inorganic, or fake. Let's just put it that way. And interestingly enough, there's a lot of fake things connected to the moon. What I find really interesting is that the moon card in the tarot is about illusion. It can be about that. It's connected to the energy of Pisces. Pisces traditionally was ruled by Jupiter, which I think is really interesting because it's connected to spiritual expansion and kind of this boundless energy of the ocean. Jupiter being an energy of expansion and boundlessness, okay? And abundance is what I'm hearing as well, which is interesting. When you think of the abundance of the ocean, she's tying that back into the abundance of memory that she holds, the ever-changing energy of the water and the oceans, and yet them also being constant. How can we balance paradoxal frequencies and energy? How can we expand enough to understand the expanded quality of the universe ever expanding? And every time I get into this water energy, I completely lose my train of thought because it's just like, that's all it is. It's just this massive thing I can't even put words to. But it's a feeling, it's a frequency, feel into it. So where was I going with this? Yeah. The connection between the moon and water. Okay. And that there's a kind of trickster quality to this narrative around the moon being fake and being something deceptive. She's connecting it to memory again, and now I'm seeing the High Priestess. So some of this might have to do with, and we'll get into this in another message, is how it feels, but this is sort of like a little preamble possibly to something else that might want to come through at a later time. Just look at the narrative in spiritual circles that is very geared, or what's the word here? Locked into a more masculine, patriarchal framework, synonymous with the religious programming. Just look into that energy and see how that might then be reflected in certain spiritual teachings or concepts that always see darkness or illusion or reflective energy or lunar energy as something to be feared or something to be seen as not to be trusted. Just pay attention to where that might be coming up wherever you are, okay? And understand that sometimes when we over-focus on concepts, okay, and I'm going to put this in quotation mark, concepts around the light and what that means, when we're negating the dark, we still are falling within duality consciousness. We're still falling within duality consciousness, okay? I'm going to leave it at that because I could talk a lot about this and we'll get off. This is going to be like a 3-hour video. Do we want that? No. Okay, so I'm going to be asking just through the giant Rider-Waite-Smith, Pamela's genius over here. And that's funny. She's saying that's another thing here. You know, this is originally like the Rider-Waite deck. And Pamela was the woman who, again, and I'm not saying this, I've had people make some very interesting comments about any time I address something to do with the divine feminine being shunned or whatever, I'm coming from a victimhood consciousness. I think that's absolutely hilarious, because anytime someone wants to redress a balance where someone doesn't get it, or they're thinking I'm coming from a very biased point of view, they just want to call it victimhood consciousness and call it a day, like it's a poor me thing. This is what happens, right? Again, that is just another example of where we are discounting the feminine. Like we don't want to give her a voice. And there's a lot of intensity that comes through when I say that on behalf of Momma Gaia. And like, interesting. She's also saying, be aware of where you may be getting triggered by people saying things like that to you, okay? Because one thing I tell you is that the feminine energy and the divine feminine energy here on Earth has always been here, even through oppression and patriarchal, negative oppression. Let's just put it that way, okay? Despite all that, she's still survived. She's still been here. That's not to say that we're not here to redress a balance. As I split the deck, isn't this interesting? The Hierophant is coming out in reverse. And when this comes out in reverse, this is very much a distorted patriarchal energy. And I also want to make that clear that when I'm saying patriarchal here, I want to make clear that as well as on a spectrum, there is very healthy patriarchal energy, the same way there is very healthy matriarchal energy. And then there's distorted aspects of that. So redressing a balance here to the distorted masculine is very, very specific to what I'm talking about. So right off the bat, we've got the 7 of Pentacles coming out in reverse. I'm hearing with that dive deep, the Tower coming out as well. Overhaul is what I'm hearing. An overhaul of consciousness is afoot. She's pointing me to the... I wish I could just flip the camera and show you how these two landed, but we've got the Empress. You could say that this is Momma Gaia energy herself here at the bottom of the deck. The Empress. She's always been here in plain sight, is what she's saying. Never a victim. Never a victim. She knows exactly how to take care of herself. She knows exactly how to redress a balance. There's a lot of Panther energy coming through with that. Okay. The Hierophant in reverse came out again with the Fool. Right? And they landed just like this. I'm going to try and show you how they landed here. Literally like right over these two. This is what's being transmuted. So what's interesting with this, I'm hearing here new concepts of work and having patience. New concepts of time in the physical. This is time, the nature of time shifting and going deeper into understanding this. You will get that through this message. There's no need to meditate upon that. This could just be a confirmation for some of you for that, because this coming out together is, it's funny. We always think of the yods here, these little, flashes of, gold energy here as being divine intervention. The divine intervention is the frequency shifts that are taking place. And more awakenings are taking place as well. People are shifting in terms of frequency. I'm also hearing it's darkest before the dawn. Things are going to also look a lot more, or be presented to us as being a lot more dire. And that's not to say that there are not things going on right now that are of a horrendous nature, but she's saying to me, Taylor's, all this time, this has been happening for eons, right across her body, right across her skin. And now I'm seeing dragon energy, and I'm seeing her body as having dragon scales. And they're being presented to me in a very fiery color. So there's a lot of alchemy here and transmutation going on and protection. She knows how to protect herself. The shifts that are taking place energetically are because of you and where your frequency is at. Do not underestimate your day-to-day mundane activities and the frequency in which you hold. Every time you smile at a stranger, you are shifting frequency, even if that stranger doesn't smile back. Even if that stranger looks at you like you're crazy, you're still shifting. You're still creating a shift. There is still a shift taking place. For some of us, past lives as we understand them in linear time have been, she's showing me that with the Tower. So those of us who have experienced dire, this is very specific to, okay, I'm not getting this actually on Earth. This is very specific for some of us, this particular message. She's showing me off-planet incarnations. And she's showing me the alchemy of the experiences that we had off-planet that were awful, like where there was absolute no respect for our individual sovereignty. There's a lot of slave energy that's coming through with that. I know that can be triggering for some of us, okay? I'm saying that with love, but we are very powerful. And, when I say that, I know we're capable of hearing that and not falling apart. Because she's talking here about the importance of that. She's talking here about the importance of alchemizing this energy, and now she's bringing it back to Earth and this lifetime or ancestry, okay, where there was oppression, where there was slavery. And this can be slavery in many different forms. Many different forms. I'm not going to get too into that. Please take whatever applies to your experience and how that is not haphazard. There's a reason for it. It is not meant to divide. It is meant to unify. You're meant to take that and alchemize the shit out of it. Okay? The Hierophant in reverse is a very good example of the oppressor. Like, this is sometimes in certain decks called the Pope. Okay? When it comes out in reverse here, we're talking about a distortion of power. Someone abusing their power. Okay? For whatever means they want. And for whatever consciousness they want. Okay? She's showing me in this form that these two are like, again, we're talking about a hierarchy here in a distorted way. And this is like they are slaves to a master. And there's a real energy coming through with that. But please take again the message and the energy that's trying to come through here in transmuting this energy. Okay? Okay. We've got the Fool here. And that's the start of a new cycle of consciousness here around this particular energy. What I'm actually getting with that as well is the Fool walking in the opposite direction. It's like you look at it, you face it, you alchemize it. A lot of golden energy in that card as well. So that's the energy of alchemy, and you turn the other way. And you do that with a pure heart. He's holding that white flower there. Okay, there's a white dog there as well. Okay, the energy of the sun, the energy of purity, the energy of the heart is what I'm getting with that. Okay. You have everything you need to do this, is what I'm hearing her say, as I'm looking at that little satchel that this Fool holds. You have everything you need. It is all within you. Unlock the codes. Okay. That's it. That is it. I don't think I need... Okay, so she wants to show that this is another way that we can understand everything being on a spectrum. In the tower is white. Okay? So depending on how you read a particular energy, color, frequency, remember that everything is on a spectrum. So even though we're looking at the white flower or the sun, okay, as being something that can identify with purity, the energy here of the tower can also be an example of some kind of false light, right? And the tower coming down. And when I say that here, what I mean is something presenting itself to you in a way that seems good, that seems aligned to truth, to love, and yet maybe isn't, maybe fully isn't. That's the tower that's coming down here. That's the tower that's coming down. And notice how in the tower card, the black drop, the black drop, right? I want to say the backdrop is black. That is how she's showing it to me. That's the void of creation. Now, would we say that that is necessarily a bad thing? Do you see everything is on a spectrum here? When we talk about darkness, well, what is darkness actually? What is that? Is it just all bad? Depending on how you look at it, many people, because of the orientation we have to this idea of light being good and dark being bad, we start to muck things up a bit. Where did we lose? Where did we get lost in translation? Where did we get lost in translation? Remember that everything, again, sits on a spectrum, okay? When we're talking about real, true unity consciousness, and she's showing me unity as love, I'm being brought back to the heart space again. Okay, I'm going to end it there. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for spending your time, sharing your time and your energy with us. Thanking Momma Gaia for being here with us. She is our ultimate mother in many ways. If we are having an incarnation here on Earth, Please remember that, okay? I'm sending you so much love wherever you are here on beautiful Momma Gaia, in love and liberation, always.